Damn, son, where'd you find this? A King Majora exclusive, The Rants. Take it away, my boy. Brrrr. What's up, people? It's King Majora here. Look, so today I wanted to take the time out to give a little bit of a personal story that may interest those researching into the abduction phenomena and related to the UAP story. Maybe you've come across me and my other works, my active presence on X. You know, I'm basically an X guy. I know I have presences elsewhere, but that's mainly where I'm operating, at least at this present time. Of course, you can find me through my portal at lnk.bio/KXNGMAJORA. Well, as I was saying, I wanted to get into my personal anecdote and my life story from 2014 onward, where, you know, for context, I'm a psychonaut. Which is like experimenting within the shamanistic, remote viewing, bilocation, astral traveling, and building, like for my personal example, I took the unorthodox route of taking the information regarding remote viewing and influencing and the details from the psychic soldiers of the United States Armed Forces and Intelligence, such as the CIA and others that utilize these psychic warriors, and basically I attempted to establish contact with anything I really could, establish business, battle within a shamanistic, egregorian, reflective. He goes into the details of chaos magic and working through your own archetypes in a Jungian sense. You know, I study meme magic in the Connor D. Sullivan, John D. Burroughs styles, in a sense, of propaganda, memes, and the cults of Keck, etc. But it all started, before I was that, I was a really green chaos magician, practicing, studying conspiracy theories, the conspiratorium, political corruption, and the paranormal. And at the time, you know, what's publicly available is my, cringe, but it was still funny for what it was worth during the time, avant-garde music caricature villain piece, Stomestein, that actually got me into altercation with the Secret Service, and that's a whole long story where I got gangstered by the United States. But, before that, basically, to make an example, basically I had a buddy, RNO, for anybody who knows my other content before I was King Majora, long before. Basically, my buddy, he was like my apprentice, even though I was still green myself. And, I was developing ways to get my buddies into, we would smoke and induce a lucid state with the cannabis sativa or any other cannabis bud at the time. This was 2014. The prevalence of these dab carts really wasn't until after this. It was dab, like, using dabs. And, well, basically, I would put them in a lucid state, or this state where it's easier to become lucid, put them through an astral projection state through guided meditational practice that I would induce with my voice and my methods of, out-of-body experiencing, which is like, the methods of rolling in your mind, the rope method, relaxations, water, ocean of consciousness slipping. And there were tangible results with several of them, and it was a little too good, because when I was communicating with several beings, one even the infamous Ashtar through someone else, but that's a long story, and I will get into that in just a bit. But, to RNO, this is my buddy, and, we're doing an experiment in the backyard of my barn, doing an exercise, like literal exercising, cardio methods with enhanced role play with relics. Not with each other like some gay LARPing shit, but it was more so designed to be, ways of battling concepts and entities and sensing them out with ESP techniques. And then he gets really ill all of a sudden. It's a bright, hot day. I'm like, okay, sit down. He must be really hot. And then he's just sitting there. He's feeling real sick. You could tell. And then out of nowhere, like, he gets up real quick. I'm like, you good? Because I asked him if he was good, and he was just sitting there. He didn't answer me. Then he got up real quick, and he says this: "You're not supposed to be here." And I'm like, excuse me. Like, I'm freaking out. I'm only 18 years old at the time, and I'm new to this stuff. And I'm like, excuse me? Well, Ryan, are you good, buddy? And it's like, you're not supposed to be here. And it's like, he looks up, and out of nowhere, the sky starts fucking getting real bad out. You hear a thunderous clap, and he looks up, and he sees this shit, and then basically a huge electric storm happens. Maybe one day, should he want to communicate with me again, because there's a theme that my friends got utterly terrified and saw the ramifications of the madness that came with the occult and researching it. They distanced themselves because I took a path of this occult learning and spirituality. Like, let's be honest, do you want John Constantine as a friend using you as an experiment? I have sympathy for my friends. So there's one case of possession, right? Then a friend of mine who was a part of my core friendship from a very early age, he had messaged me on Boomer Book and was like, Ronnie, can you come get me? I have sharp pains in my arm and my family won't take me, and I'm in pain. And of course, he lived in Troy, Ohio. I live in Springfield, and even did at the time. And I was like, damn, bro, nobody gonna take you? He's like, nah. So then I travel all the way over there, over an hour to pick this man up. And then this motherfucker starts tripping out like crazy on me. Like, he literally tries to grab me, and like, literally, he trying to choke me out on the road, telling me that, once you take me to the hospital, I'm going to possess these people and they're going to kill me. This is a ritual. And I'm like, excuse me. Keep in mind, I'm still green. I'm learning about these concepts, not having a full immersion into it. And I'm getting it like firsthand, like 20 billion feet deep into this abyss of a pool. I got verification of the occult in real life, the consequences of fucking with it. And I stop at this convenience store parking lot, and there's people watching me, like, from the store, and I wave at the guy, like, he's just joking, a little fucked up. But then this guy's trying to choke me out. And it's like a comedy movie. Like, I literally had to look over to this guy, and I was like, hey, how you doing? Like you would see in a goofy movie. That's how it was. And I'm trying to use techniques that I've learned, like using charging your key to your fingers and using some form of charged energetic, like, dispersion techniques. It ain't working. I'm not very well versed at that time. So I'm like, fuck, what do I do? Because I'm still getting knee deep into this shit. Now I'm fully into the abyss with all these possessions. I take him to my house because I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, this nigga didn't even tell his people that. What the hell is going on? And basically, he starts going on all night long because I didn't take him back home. I was afraid for his home people. And I've mentioned this in the Misfits and Termina podcast with my buddy Digifits, and be sure to check that out. And his music, it's great. The guy was watching when we did that shit. It's like Insidious, motherfuckers. He might still be to this day, because let me explain. I take this motherfucker to my house, right? And he's, talking about, oh, I miss home. You don't know anything human. And I'm like, dude, what's home? And he points up to the fucking sky at some constellation. And I'm like, dude, I'll try to shoot your consciousness. I'm thinking he might be a disembodied spirit, an alien or something. And he's in my buddy's body. And I'm like, maybe you just need a way home. So I'm trying, this and that. And it don't work. Eventually, after basically fighting with this motherfucker, because I'm not doing no Catholic exorcism shit, I'm just memeing at this ass crack, whatever's in him. I'm like, dude, get out of his body. And then finally, as day broke, he at least claimed on the surface that he was gone and everything was fine. But in hindsight, no, that motherfucker's probably still possessed to this day, because me and him and everyone else who was related to these weird events are not on good terms anymore. And after we made up several times, we were all good, and then they just got distanced with me. And this was after I started to really click that they might still be possessed. It's like the fourth wall broke. They stopped pretending to be my friend, and they just wouldn't respond to me. And the other dude, my buddy, he's in a lot of my content I make, the black guy, Keo World, watch him. But he was in a channel one time and was like, I'm Ashtar, this and that. And I confronted Ashtar. I'm like, bro, do you just, you this and that, you're a bitch, you won't do anything about the establishment? And he's like, essentially, yes. And then it's like, you coward. And then basically that, I put his girlfriend through these similar things. And she had a meditational journey where she was in what she claimed to be a past life. And she was in the Middle East. Her wife gets blown up, and he gets a fish, and he's met by a bear. And this was a girl, and basically, another time that this sort of things weird were happening were the movie Ouija had just come out, and I mentioned this in Misfits and Termina as well. The movie Ouija came out, and a girl I used to hang out with growing up, she's like, you want to come with me and my girlfriend to see the Ouija board movie? And I'm like, sure, we can watch it, it's corny. She pulls it out of the trunk, says, I got one. You want to go to your house and play it with us? And I'm like, sure. I'm into this. So then we take it to my barn, and then, we actually get this thing to start moving. And then I'm trolling, because I'm just a naturally insane fuck. I'm like trolling this son of a bitch, and it's like, calls me a liar and calls, basically I'm antagonizing it like, hey, I'm the Antichrist, ain't I? And it's like, yes. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then like a light falls on the ground. Like, it's like, you want to keep talking like you're something, this and that, jackass? I'll throw this lamp. And I was in the barn. It was a fucking light for construction work. I'm a construction worker, flooring. And this light falls, and she's like, you keep that son of a bitch, I'm leaving. So I keep it, and it still moves with just my hand. But the weird thing about it that makes me not think that it was ever a subconscious thing was it stopped working. I used it for like the night after, and it stopped working. I've worked with pendulums, similar constructs. It gets intense, starts spinning around real quick, the pendulum. Up until my arrest in 2015 due to the events with the Secret Service and my parody Twitter that was taken out of context, there were reasons to my what really boiled down to a form of madness, because nobody was taking what I was saying seriously. Dude's getting possessed around me. My buddy, the black dude, admits he saw a UFO that looked like the Millennium Falcon, and I saw a green light at the same time. We're both looking up at the sky. I need glasses or contacts, so I couldn't see nothing but a really dark part in the sky above us. We're smoking weed out in my house, and he sees the Millennium Falcon, basically. What he said, looked just like the Millennium Falcon, and he's not a Star Wars fan. And he was like, it looked like that Star Wars Millennium Falcon to me. And like I said, all I saw was a green light. So, and this was later on. This was after my arrest. Mentioning him again, I tried DMT in 2018. You can't have one of these experiencer stories without a Joe Rogan DMT shit. Damn, son, where'd you find this? Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you are at. Fuck with your boy, the Drapaholics. But yeah, so, we're doing DMT, and my buddy, he's cool as fuck. He got the same name as me, but it's like, I'm Ronnie Skelton II. He's Ronnie or RJ, and he's like he's the caricature goofy but still awesome guy that sells the dope and does the DMT type shit at the time. Now he's grown and had a family since then, but at the time we're living our young lives in our 20s, and then I'm like, to my buddy Keo, I'm like, Keo, let's do some DMT. We do the DMT, And I take so like beyond the heroic dose. Like he's saying, I'm trying to get you to blast off. I'm hitting it, boom, 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 hold it, boom, boom, boom. And I fought it off. I felt the colors, I saw the colors, the movements, and the body high. But I rejected blast off because I was like, I'm getting attacked. Meanwhile, my buddy has a 3-minute vision. He's rolling his eyes, he gets out, he's like, I'm getting fucked by the universe. And he came in his pants, bro. I don't mean to be grotesque. The nigga came in his pants. Like, oh my God, we're laughing. He said he lived his whole life and died. And then saw his body at the funeral. And then that happened. So because I didn't go under, and the other time I tried psychedelics, I tried 5 mushrooms. They were real, same guy provided them. I just didn't go under. Now, cocaine and other things don't work on my brain either. I do have this type of different brain, if you can't tell by my type of method and my absurd niche fetishes for these greater meanings and conspiracy and so forth. But, basically, this DMT encounter and other things aren't working on me, but I had the initial DMT realm where he's, whatever, he got fucked by something in the area. Whatever the hell it was, it fucked my buddy. And I still think he's possessed by that shit. He started painting his nails black and everything and acting like really weird. And he was born with 6 fingers and 6 toes, but on 1 foot, and that's a weird thing in itself. We go into how we act like Saiyans. We're like 2 Saiyan-minded people, like if Saiyans were humans, which is in itself a neurodivergent, concept. Excuse me. But, so I have this history of doing all this. So as time goes on, I get in some more legal trouble, and I'm in a jail scene in 2014. No, before that. Let's get into before that. So before that, better yet, we'll get back to that. Let's talk about my early life. Now, when I'm a young child, they say that my labs, military operations, gate program, shit, the idea of, psychic soldiers were documented by our own in like China. These child soldiers, they were claiming they were in communication with. Psychic is just more often within the young. You hear this universally, and I'm having these very lucid, controlling dreams, like where I'm sitting in front of my house, and I'm a young kid, even in my dreams. So, I'm seeing this. I'm talking to my mom, and then out of nowhere, on this picnic table, we're sitting in my front lawn. That's not even there. This picnic table is not there. So, I was able to pick up in my dreams as a youth that things were not right. And then I tell my mom, "You're not my mom." Then she morphs into this reptilian that starts getting aggressive with me, but I didn't freak out for some reason. My Saiyan ass laughed at him. Yeah, I just started laughing at him as he's trying to scare me. I'm like a little, Broly, Z Broly, like laughing at him, like, what you going to do to a true freak? And that in itself, I would always have these dreams where then I'd become lucid, or more often than that, I would have sleep paralysis as a kid, or wake myself up from dreams when I realized they were dreams. And I would always see these two, no matter what, over the years, and it was years where I would do this, I would see these 2 obese men that they were American accents and human, but they would like comfort me and reassure me that everything was all right as I went through sleep paralysis. Dream time is another thing. When I was like, just before when I'm speaking about this arrest incident, but before that, during 2024, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my meditational practice. It's still evening. The sun's out, it's not sunset, and I get real tired, and I'm like, man, I better go to sleep, and I want to take a nap. And the sun is in a direction opposite or above my head, so to speak. And as I'm sleeping, out of nowhere, because I got hit with this tiredness randomly. There was no reason that I should have gotten tired. Well, then I go to lay down, and then, I have this dream where I'm on my childhood road, and I'm looking to an old family friend's house, and I look over to this version of my buddy that I met in middle school. but I was a grown man, and he was before he was when we were even met, and I knew him up until adulthood. And basically, I'm like, hey, does so and so still live here? And he says no, and I'm like, oh. And then I turn around towards the sunset, and the sun, mind you, is in the same direction it would be hours later as I wake up. But it's like, I turn around and two Nordics are hovering on me on some sort of hovering platform device, and I'm basically like, nah, we ain't doing this, Nazi aliens. We ain't doing this, because I'm of the opinion that it's like Lebensborn shit. And I'm like, nah, we ain't doing this. Wake me up. We about to fight. And then I instantly jump up out of my bed, start dancing around. Then I realize something. I'm still sleeping. Normal people would freak him out, but I'm like a Saiyan, and it's real. I swear this is real. I can't prove any of this, but it's real. And I'm like, hell no, I need to really wake up. So then there's this whole effort that I have of trying to wake up and trying to get myself up. I have this interval of like 5 times that I wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep intensely, really quickly. And then finally I wake up and I'm so fucking exhausted. And then I'm like basically calling out to the universe saying, yeah, fuck you guys, you're gonna get rode up, you didn't get to take me, yada yada. Being a jackass, like, like who are you people? But, there are other instances that I've had, like when I was in prison. I went to prison for the escalation event with Secret Service over the parody Twitter. I had several, and I mean truly bizarre dreams. Now, when you go to prison for any amount of time, you have this thing called institutionalizing your brain. Time goes really fast. You're in this repetition, living in these weird rules. Like, for example, that used stamps are the way to buy things in prison. That's how you know I went. Countless on cigarettes and weed and phone time, by using someone's contraband cell phone. Basically, I'm having these dreams where, like, I'm in this, because I had to go to Arkansas. I'm in Springfield, Ohio, where I live, but I had to go to Arkansas for this. And I went to Arkansas's Forest City Low. And basically, I'm having dreams where, basically, one of the dreams, for example, was that, I'm talking to the people in the jail prison system, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, oh, you're being transferred to Texas or somewhere near down south for that. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Next thing I know, in the dream, I'm in some subterranean base, like ice walls, like you see in the video, and it's ice walls and like little pressurized vault systems, and I'm just in there, and it's like I see the concept of this. I've had that sort of dream before. In my dreams there as well, I had this dream where I'm with one of the inmates, and then we somehow are driving out, and he said, this is normal. They allow this stuff. Like in a dream, why would that even matter? The context of leaving the prison, and he's like, this is just something that happens. We're allowed out. So we driving. Next thing you know, we're in this van, and then it's one of those times where the dream shifts. We look up and we see basically an experimental Space Force craft, and even in my dream I saw the insignia of Space Force on it, and then I see the insides, and I'm on this next. So it's like, it's with that implication, it's like, am I involved with some sort of My Lab secret space, Project W Wesker shit because of my whole life? And it's like the GATE program. It's like most people indicate that their lives in the mall world and the descriptions of the bizarre things that aren't stated to be in the public GATE program, could it be that I just was seen with such potential that they furthered my Black Project subconscious world when I sleep? It makes me wonder, because I had other dreams in prison related to the concept of the Matrix, and like I'm in the prison, and everyone's so we're just sitting in there in the school prison, because I had to get my GED, and so I'm sitting in the schoolroom, and then but the schoolroom don't look nothing like there, and then out of nowhere, weed and the gangsta hood niggas is coming out of the bathroom laughing and having a good time, and smokes out like they're smoking weed in there. And then I'm like, man, these motherfuckers are gonna get in trouble. The teacher's right there. But even in the GED room, the inmates taught it. So it's like the things weren't adding up in the school dream for a normal school dream. And then out of nowhere, a bunch of Agent Smiths start coming in, and it's like I have these weird flashes, like they don't know that I'm him, and it's like they're going around, and then I basically go onto this elevator, which there's a continuation of this dream where I'm fighting like in the Matrix again, and all of these beings are basically I have this elevator dream where it starts collapsing and me and my team basically got to get out at a certain time. Dreams that felt so real that I woke up and was like, this is a simulation with such conviction. Looking at the moon in the night from my prison window, shit like that. Of course, after all of that, I get out of prison, and do my shit. I get into the 25 thing where I'm doing a little stint in jail over some bullshit, doing some. I gobbled up some of those edibles, and man, it was too much for me. I took like 10 of them, and I was popping them daily. It was making me wigged out because I'm a psychonaut. That just comes with the territory. It brought madness. Madness was always related to the context in which is involved. It's just the nature of the occult. So anyway, as I'm in the jail cell doing my thing, and well, I have it to where I have this dream where I'm involved with this group and I'm protecting this little girl. And then I even had this thing where it's like I'm talking, the context is that I'm in a protection for this young psychic like girl, and I'm like, yeah, this is I'm not too shabby for a guy that watches Naruto explain videos, because I look into these videos and related content that's inspired by Shinto, like the anime and the Smith-Mundt Act and the Obama era executive orders that put the truth in fiction so it's easier to digest, so it's not rejected outright or negative effects. And I'm basically having these Matrix-like fight sequences. This same girl appears in dreams where it's like I'm in this military facility and I passed through a metal detector like screening device, and then I look up, and then there's the same little girl, and I think this was before that dream, so I think the dream I just told you was a continuation. It was. And the first dream was I'm talking to this little girl up here on this walkway with this military personnel with her. The alarm goes off and she's like, it's the whore of Babylon. And then I look over as this blonde bitch and I jump up and then try to like fight her like some Matrix shit. And then, basically I wake up as I'm about to collide with this hit. There is the same narrative of blonde people, Nordics, extraordinary sleep paralysis level things. It's not a demon that attacks me or harvesting my loosh. It's two obese CIA agents basically from whatever the hell the gate program like experience I was probably in. But the same little girl, and then I see her again where I have a flying dream and I'm in this courtyard. It gives me the feeling of royalty and a secret life, like I'm some sort of James Bond like entity dealing with these royalty types. I'm learning of this. I'm getting this feeling that I have a team and I'm flying around with some other device that's also like a kite flying around me. And it's a lucid dream because I'm aware that I'm either in a dream or that it's almost lucid, but I'm still controlling it with conscious endeavors. And there's this whole narrative of this, so I have this extensive bizarre dreams and happenings that have happened to me because of my choices to get into this phenomena that may have even stemmed from some sort of black world, psychic elite children of bloodline potential that these CIA whistleblowers, these UFO whistleblowers have often talked about, where they keep high priority on these hybrid bloodlines. The Skeleton clan, the coat of arms is the three fleur-de-lis, the blue and gold, the system. There's noteworthy skeletons like the poet laureate John Skelton, tutor to King Henry VIII, was with the seventh, and basically could be said that his powerful rhetoric and comedy and potent criticisms of the Catholic Church was one of the biggest medieval reasonings to why it had lost its potency with the rise of King Henry VIII and his reforms. So, the same element within, of course, you got Red Skelton, the clean, squeaky clean Will Smith comedian. But, basically, the looking into that bloodline, the connections with the Fleur-de-Lis and the Merovingians and the Queen of Tar and the Clovis and the Jesus connections, as they call it, the bloodline, so to speak, of the Priory of Sion. You've got Lawrence, my mother's maiden name. You've got... of course, you got the fish and the lion symbol on the coat of arms, the Regule Cross. The names involved with Lawrence, obviously. Of course, there's Pickens in there for T. Boone Pickens and the like, the oil tycoon, high dollar, billionaires, the Lewis bloodline. So I have prominent bloodlines within my immediate, ancestry. My dad was a Navy mineman, G6, above top secret, was in Crete, Greece. Basically, after he got out of that, he basically, so he survived the TWA flight in '86, the terrorist attack that blew a hole in the side. He actually survived it. And instead of bitching and going into this PTSD where they all get compensation afterwards, he tells me he snuck in, got his passport, and went to Greece and partied, still living off of the testosterone of being young. And so what was he? I think 23 at the time after that. Basically he had his stint. He was still in that macho military mode. He got out and he went back and he went to party in Greece. So I have a Shag Stidham's, not Shag, but Jake the Snake Stidham. He has connections to being within the operations under Schwarzkopf during the Iraqi desert operations, and they, way back when. So, this was, I have a prominent bloodline. They're all connected to the Freemasons, the Oddfellows, to Templars, etc. I'm not one personally, but I feel that I should have no shame in admitting that my family, are connected to Masons. My father has told me, we are, he's a journeyman. I'm his journeyman apprentice. We do commercial flooring. He's talked about having dreams where he's installing flooring in Wright Pat for the aliens underground. Of course, I've worked as a contractor with him installing flooring in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, right catty corner to Hangar 18 and the space when they were putting in for Space Force. I worked at Walter Reed Medical Center in Washington, D.C., passing the White House doing similar. So, there's reason that I'm a high-profile case for these types. And it may be that, my family are their own selves a form of Nepo baby of these bloodline elites that I often talk about. I mean, after all, my father admits that he was a junior Mason and he participated in the Oddfellows, but then he basically had his own thing doing DJs and party life and basically didn't pay his dues and he was no longer affiliated. So my immediate family has no immediate connections to the secret societies, but, extending forward, yes, they do. I mean, my grandmother worked for the, as a nurse or a nursing aide type for the home at the Springfield, Ohio, Clark County Masonic Home for the elderly Masons, So you're talking about peoples who already probably have a high likelihood, and these are people who might become, the likelihood that most of them got to the third degree of actual canonical Freemasonry, the whole idea of 32 and the potential 33 of the Scottish Rite and so forth come from the non-canon but still heavily accepted other divisions. So, I think I have reason to accept, and I think it's I shouldn't be considered insane for believing it, that, basically I'm likely dealing with a lifelong case of abduction phenomena. Another instance is throughout that's more, recent is, for example, I would go to bed to do my shamanistic practice and I'd lay down. At the time, my bed was on the ground. I didn't have my mattress structure at the time, and I had my headphones in. Next morning, wake up, you think, oh shit, they're not in my ears. What do you think? You rolled over. They're not in your ears no more. They're little earbuds. What was weird about it was that they were in the case and away from my bed when I woke up. Now, if you think that, well, that's but even so, when I was in the jail cell in 2025, I had several instances where I woke up and my shirt was on actually backwards, it was actually in reverse. There would be no reason to be in reverse in a jail sense, you feel me? there will be no reason that I'd think, oh, I'm just gonna put this shirt on, you know. But the same thing with the headphones. I went to sleep. I didn't put them away. It would imply some form of sleepwalking in a sense to believe I did. And I'm not known for that. So, you know, I have these, you know, basically a lifelong of paranormal circumstances and occult works that, you know, this has been my case. This is the King Majora Files, and there's more to it. I've seen craft that, you know, Springfield, Ohio is known for being the drone capital of one of the drone capitals of the world for the United States Armed Forces. Experimental drones go out of the airport in Springfield. But I've seen over my head right by the old folks home for the Freemasons, exotic craft I thought were aliens. Almost made me shit myself. I got real angry, like I was about to fight. I was getting into a war craze because I was like, man, am I about to get abducted? I've had weird instances where I just wake up real quick, freaked out. Now this was when I lived at near the lake house nearby, the campgrounds. Forest Lake. I don't live there no more, but I did at that time, and there was a lot of weird circumstances involved with that, a lot of harsh experiences with the occult, actually feeling pain, you know, actually feeling torment. It had to do with my oppositionary nature towards the power structure. I could go into my occult dealings another time. This isn't the video to just fully explain that. This has to do more specifically with relating to external instances where it's not just, is my belief personally for me true? This is what they mean when they say you don't really necessarily, you can't convince an abductee and an experiencer that their things are not real. Maybe with an near-death experience, you could say that it was hijacked, but, you know, that they were given a sort of view, astral out-of-body experience, which is documented as well. But maybe what I'm speaking about is the narratives within. But, you know, I've had weird phenomena, the warnings of the occult, not to get involved with it if you don't know what you're doing, or to just be prepared for catastrophic consequences. You know, I lived a life of isolation and exile from people and ridicule over some of the madness aspects that came with it. It becomes maddening at times, and any intellectually honest magician would tell you that. But yeah, that was my case, Ronnie Skelton II, King Majora. The Majora case. That is my case, ladies and gentlemen. Take it for what you will. I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you are here because I brought up it in my context, or you are just a think tank or something that wants to have information on experiencers, because I know that most abductee and photographic experiences and video experiences of UFOs and alien phenomena is not documented or publicized. So, yeah, take it for what you will. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you are at, and I will catch you all next time. Damn, son, where'd you find this? That's it, your boy's done.